5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, and welcome to the Have We Made It Yet podcast. My name is Hikaru Sulu, coming to you from the helm of the Starship Enterprise. As you can see by my current getup and my new haircut, that is who I have become. Actually, that might be my Halloween costume now that I think about it, because I realized when I got this new shirt, it looks kind of like it. But okay, other than
nice
that,
shirt.
Yeah, it makes sense. But in actuality, it's a little visual joke. My name's Josh Yang, and I'm the co-host of this podcast, the comedian portion. Welcome, and I am joined with my other co-host,
Lucas John Ing, the actor portion of this podcast, who also strives one day to be a Marvel superhero.
Yes, we've got Marvel, we got Star Trek. What can't the two of us do? I don't know. But hey, it's the podcast. If you're joining us for the first time, we're two creatives just starting out in the entertainment industry, or trying to make it, as you were. Talk about the process of making it, all the ups and downs, which in the beginning is quite a lot of downs, but hey, you get through it. Yep. And yeah, we want to give you guys a look into what it might be like to try and make it. And we sometimes have guests as well. Today is going to be a very special, just the two of us episode.
Yay!
Because I feel like it's been a while. We haven't really been able to debrief, like really one-on-one, talk about other things that are happening. So this is our opportunity to get some stuff off our chest. But we do need to ask each other that question right off the top. It's the question that we all ask each other. It's the question we ask everybody on this podcast. Lucas, have you made it yet?
And I feel with that question that I am somebody. You know what? No, I have not made it yet. But just some updates and realizations that I had in these past 2 weeks. Oh, first off, though, smash that subscribe button, and because your subscribing action really improves us. So please subscribe, and also comment on our podcast on Apple Podcasts. Yes.
Yeah, if you want to like heckle us in the comments, go right ahead. We're suckers for attention at this point, so any comment is good comments. We're not desperate at all. Back to.
I just have to make sure we get that call to action in right away at the 3:30-minute mark.
Yeah.
No, I have not made it yet, but I had a chat with one of our former guests on this podcast, the incredible Michelle Arvizu. And she really opened my eyes about just what it takes to not burn out in this craft. What I am continually dealing with, on top of, I would say, creative, artistic difficulties, is like the mere act of sustaining yourself financially to sustain this craft. And what I find at times is when I audition, be it self-tapes or in-person auditions, they are good, as my agent would call it, but I am not able to express myself fully because I'm so afraid to fuck up. So as a result, I hold the bat too tightly because I see the buyout rate of what I could be getting if I book this commercial or show. And I was like, I could really use that money. So my main intention is not to play, not to explore, not to be creative, but to just not fuck up, which is the wrong mentality. So what I realized in these past 2 weeks is I formerly worked at a grocery store, and just an experiment for myself, I worked 80 hours in 2 weeks just to see what I could do to make the max amount of money at this store. At the end of the 2 weeks, I was incredibly tired, exhausted, as my girlfriend could probably attest to it. I was probably not too good to be around because I'm just so tired doing hard labor. And at the end of the 2 weeks, the amount of effort expended was just not worth the return on that initial investment. So you know, don't get mad. Just meander, move around, maneuver, right?
Mm.
So this past weekend, I went on a spree of job applications, and it's my background is in VFX and visual
Mhm.
effects. So I I just went on a spree. I saw eight job postings, applied for all of them, and within this past week, I've had like 3 interviews, and I actually just signed an offer yesterday for a
Wow.
new position.
Yeah.
Yeah, working in visual effects with a great company, and my financial worries are essentially no more. But the major trade-off what I find is that you can either have time or money.
Mm.
You can't have both at the same rate as each other.
Mm.
So I'll have to really manage my time. Once I got auditions in, make sure I run lines during my lunch hour. Make sure I have a lot of time for self tapes, even though I might be still on call for my VFX job.
Mm.
Um, it's always give or take, but at least money will help me sustain my craft, which I will hope for because acting is the long game. And I want to make sure that I have enough money so that I can still, as Umberly put it last time, explore the playing aspect of auditioning. Because at the end of the day, they don't care for a person who can memorize lines. They
Mm.
want a person who is flexible, malleable, and can play the part as the writers, producers saw fit. So I feel a little bit better, but this will be a new thing right now going back into VFX. So it'll be fun.
Wow. What a shift, man. That's like a big strategic move for you
Yeah.
to get out of, because I know you were going into Sobeys because you wanted that flexibility to physically go to different auditions.
Mhm.
But it is a new world out there in terms of auditioning. And a
Yeah.
lot of the times it's like you don't have to lug yourself around transportation and go. Yeah, you don't have to wait in the sitting rooms for those auditions like you can send in self tapes now, and
Mhm.
that makes a lot more sense. That feels like a much more efficient use of time for you,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially with like you do have the background in VFX.
Mhm.
That definitely makes a lot more sense, helping you financially with that. So I'm really happy to hear that.
Oh, thanks, man.
And like, yeah, I no doubt as well that I can see like there's definitely an inherent amount of stress, not the same type of stress, but like there is a certain amount of stress of doing like hard labor and then
Mhm.
trying to get motivated as well to to do your auditions and then refocus creatively. Like
Yeah.
how long is the offer? Like what is the offer? Is it when's it gonna
Um,
start?
it's gonna start October 18th. So this podcast is going on the road again. I'll be flying out to Vancouver come tomorrow.
Yeah.
So once I come back from Vancouver, uh, yeah, once I come back from Vancouver back to Toronto, I'll be starting my new job then, and we'll be
Okay.
working from home. Yeah.
Great. Yeah,
Mhm.
I mean that'll be much more convenient, more or just inherently just more convenient than having to go into the store, right?
For sure, for sure. Great people that I met there, but just at the end of the day, you got to make sure that Josh and I are self-sustained and that we can still live.
Mm.
So make sure we take care of ourselves first, man. That's the main thing.
Yeah, it's a young poor person's what no sorry that didn't come out right. What I mean was like if okay, sorry. That really came out weird. But what I'm trying to say is like if you're young and like don't have like as many expenses or you don't have any as many responsibilities is like that. I think that lifestyle works. You're
Mhm.
working coffee shops, you're always being available, flexible for the acting auditions and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But yeah, at our age, late 20s, early 30s, other things do creep in mind, and it's kind of like you
Mhm.
feel a bigger need for a sense of stability.
Yeah.
Whereas you're young, you're kind of like, whatever, we'll deal with that later. Well, now is technically later for us.
Mhm.
So it's all about balance, about managing it, and who
Yeah.
knows, making it. I mean, not Whoopi Goldberg,
Mm.
Oprah, right?
Mhm.
She got fired at like late 20s, early 30s from her radio job, and
Mhm.
then she took off afterwards. So many
Yeah.
people started late,
Yeah.
and
And that's what I realized. Just acting, and same with being a comedian for yourself. Acting or creative pursuits is the long game, but make sure that you still can sustain yourself and meet those little goals in life that still help you sustain your craft, because without meeting those little goals, your craft, your long game is still going to be kaput.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Great to hear, man.
Thanks, brother. Maybe you can add a lighter note to all this heavy, dense talk and everything. But Mr. Josh Yang,
Yeah.
have you made it yet?
I have not made it yet. And I would like to say that I've done very little in the last few weeks. Yeah, I got a haircut. That's like the biggest thing, and I feel better about that because I think with the long hair, it was starting to get real frizzy at the bottom and like kind of thin, a bit unhealthy looking. So I got a haircut, and I feel like a new man. I know, a new haircut, new feeling, new look. Feel better, and you know what? I might go figure out a way to get onto a show before. I mean, it was a lot of getting settled back in, but now I'm definitely going to try and find a show to do in Vancouver. But yeah, other than that, not really new for me. I'll see you soon when you come to Vancouver. Then we'll chill and talk about how our podcast is doing amazing things, how we're doing some great things. I mean, look, our last guest, Umberly Gonzalez. Come on.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to do a Trump impression then, but yes, she was incredible though.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But yeah. So
Gems.
that's a bit of an update for the two of us. But today we do want to get into some shop talk, especially some Asian shop talk, because some news came out. Shang Chi and the 10 Rings and the Legend of the 10 Rings is close to breaking $200 million US domestic box office.
Wow.
And a total of overseas. I'm not too sure. I can't find the
boxofficemojo.com.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, it's doing great in the sense that it's the top biggest hit of the year, overtaking Black Widow. And you know what?
Oh.
What an accomplishment. I saw it. Lucas saw it. It's a great intro film, but we would like to discuss more about it after seeing it. So, You know what? 10 Rings, Shang-Chi. I think it's good. But Lucas, what are your initial thoughts?
Oh, what a throw. Okay.
What a throw. I wasn't sure how to throw it. And I was just like,
okay. All right. We're getting into this. We're getting deep. Okay.
What would you like to say about it?
Okay. So first off, the context of where I saw it. So I did see it in theaters, which I think that's the only place you can see it in right now because it's not on Disney Plus. No. So I saw it in theaters, and mind you, of course, we still had social distancing measures and all that stuff, but it was still technically a packed theater. Every seat that was available was taken up. The crowd was cheering every time. Like, oh, also spoiler alert! If anyone hasn't seen it, there's going to be spoilers.
Yeah,
of course, in this episode. Yeah. So don't go on further if you don't want to know what happens. Any time that Shang was fighting, especially that bus scene. Oh my God, that split kick that he did to get those two assailants. People were clapping.
Powerful.
Also, there are other cheering moments, such as the last post-credit scene. We're going to go into that when him, Benedict Wong, and Awkwafina were all karaokeing.
Yeah,
that was great. It had its moments, but are we going to go into our critiques right now, though, Josh?
I mean, we can. I'm ready. I'm kind of ready to go, but okay. Unless you wanted to touch on some other stuff.
No. So if you don't want me starting, just to preface everyone, I'll admit I'm not a big Marvel fan to begin with. So yeah, even though I did say I want to be a Marvel superhero at the start of this episode, like I Kevin Feige, if you call me, I will still pick up. Thank you.
Yeah.
But I personally don't really like superhero movies just because I don't feel too much of an emotional investment into it because essentially you know how it's going to turn out. Yeah. Aside from Infinity War, which I thought was a really cool ending,
Yeah.
You essentially know how every movie is going to turn out. So when I kept on hearing like from everyone from the Asian community, from the AAPI community, everyone's like, fantastic, 10 out of 10, 100%. My expectations for this film was skyrocketing.
Mm.
Like all the Wong Fu people were like, incredible, the best film to represent Asians. So first off, my expectations were too high. And I think to hoist these lofty goals upon like a movie is unfair,
Mm.
just because in the space of stop Asian hate, in the space of the COVID-19 that is still rampaging through, I was like, oh, can this movie stop Asian hate? I kind of went in going thinking that, and
Yeah.
as a result, um, my expectations were not met. And Josh, did you want to go into more about like any of your critiques about it, and then we can
Well, I
start?
agree. It's like the expectations. It was weird because I think the sentiment with a lot of Asian, North American people, AAPI, was that we finally have a great, Marvel superhero. This is our opportunity to really have that kind of representation. Uh, so I think there was uneasiness leading up to it in the sense that we were just not sure. We just hoped it didn't flop. I think that
Yeah.
was one of the biggest things. Like, oh, let's just hope it doesn't flop because then that just screws everything up. We had such good momentum,
Mhm.
and before the pandemic kind of really took a hit on a lot of things, and then now we're coming back with like some great films, um, Minari, and then there was other Asian films as well that for some reason I can't come to mind.
Like The
But
Farewell was incredible.
yeah, The Farewell was great as well. But yeah, so like this movie was just kind of, as long as it doesn't flop, it's
Mhm.
like okay, that's I feel like even the basic, how Marvel has such a formulaic, process that like they almost can't churn out a flop because they just
Mhm.
know how to get the basics done
Yeah.
well. They know what their movies are, throw in some action, throw in some comedy, get some like good, endearing actors in there to kind of to take the audience on a journey.
Mhm.
So I think, as long as it doesn't flop, okay, great, we're happy. And then
Yeah.
there were some reviews coming out saying that it's like, oh, it's actually pretty good. Oh, it's
Mhm.
actually doing pretty well, and people actually like it. And then once those reviews started hitting in, then there was like a period of time where we thought it's like, oh wait, is it actually good? Wow, if it's actually good, that would be great. And then the expectation, and then it got released, and I think a lot of people were like, it's good. Is it great though? I don't think it was 99, 98% Rotten Tomato, super high review scores. I'm not sure if it was great. It was good. It was definitely a solid entry, but I don't think it was great.
Yeah, which also made me realize again, this movie was not made for us, Josh. And by
Mm,
us, I mean like us in our late 20s, early 30s,
right.
people who akin to more Christopher Nolan's Batman series as opposed to a Marvel superhero film.
Mm,
So what I realized is, like, I was showing Josh this for our YouTube listeners and everything like that. Like,
nice.
yeah, I bought the Shang Chi action
Figure set.
action figure set. Yeah, that's the word for it.
Mm,
And you know, essentially, this movie is made for
yeah.
younger kids who essentially haven't seen an Asian superhero in their lifetime. I'm not saying I have, but at least I am more awoke to the idea that formerly to Marvel taking a hold of this. When I was watching Chinese shows with my grandma, like I've seen Asian superheroes, so it's not too foreign to me yet.
Mm, mm,
Um, but at the same time, though, it's there were specific things within the movie. If we were just talking about like story structure and everything like that,
mm,
that I
mm.
thought was a little bit off for me.
Yeah.
First off, just so that everyone can see for our YouTube listeners or watchers, there's Death Dealer over there.
Yeah. Ugh, Death Dealer. I've got some
Yeah,
gripes about that.
yeah, he was a great looking character,
Ah,
akin to the Chrome Stormtrooper.
Right,
right?
right. Yeah, it was very eye-catching, very, very
Oh yeah.
dynamic visual look. I thought he was going to be more important than he was.
I know, but he was just a soulless, pun intended,
Yeah.
character who eventually got his soul sucked out.
I mean, you kind of just I thought there would have been a great, final like pre-final boss battle between, Shang Chi and his former teacher, and that would like lead him to facing off his. Either way, there's just a whole bunch of structural things I have issues with narrative wise that I thought could have been done better, but we're picking and choosing just because it's like it's after the fact. We've seen the whole movie, and let's not understate the importance of the film and the fact that just by it being out there and being such a hit, and that so many people are going to watch it as a Marvel superhero film, and they're so open to seeing that represent, that's a win. That's a huge win. Like
Absolutely.
there's so many new people who may not have seen like a very prominent Asian face. Like, to be honest, the last action films that I can think of that really had prominent Asian faces were Jackie Chan films. Like,
Oh,
what
okay,
was
yeah.
like he was the one that was like still, in that action verse, with his films. And then like in the last decade, he hasn't been doing too many films in Hollywood and stuff. But like in the 90s and the 2000s, like
Yeah,
he
yeah.
had some great films that came out here that was action comedy, and people were able to see him really out there. But
Did you watch Snake Eyes?
I did watch Snake Eyes.
How do you think Shang-Chi compared to that?
Oh, it's much
Briefly,
better.
briefly. Okay,
It's
okay,
much
okay.
it's much better. But Snake Eyes, it was really bad. It was so bad. You knew it was bad like 15 to 20 minutes in, and then you thought it might be better, but it stayed bad. So yeah, it's not a good film. It's almost like kind of like, those were the two. It's like, whoa, when the Snake Eyes trailer came out, Henry Golding, he's Snake Eyes, like, whoa, that looks actually so cool in the trailer. And then when Shang-Chi came out, that looks so cool in the trailer.
Yeah.
And then I feel like they were kind of both compared in the sense that they're both action films coming out in the summer, this summer period. And they both had Asian male leads. But yeah, Snake Eyes was really bad. It was terrible.
Oh
it
my
was
God.
it was actually a film that I don't remember watching too many bad films were in the theater I knew was bad, but it was bad.
Eesh. Okay, so it's kind of similar just because they came out at about, well, I wouldn't say the same time, but like in the same quarter. So it's
Yeah,
good to know. Yeah.
yeah. But definitely Shang-Chi was much better than Snake Eyes. Though, again, I do have some gripes with it. But overall, like, I think what it is, but at the end of the day, once you watch it, you'll understand what I'm saying. But it wasn't like Shang-Chi or Simu Liu's film. Like the plot and the story that came out, it really wasn't that his film. It was really Tony Leung's film.
Yes.
Right? It was like he was the opening, going through the backstory about Shang-Chi's father, and or the Mandarin, which was super old, racist terminology, and they kind of make fun of it a little bit in a few lines. Wow, what was his name again? It's like
Wenwu.
Wenwu. Yeah, Wenwu. And it was like, yeah, the opening parts of the scene of the movie, I think, were probably the best parts of the film. Like, I was surprised it was actually all in Mandarin. Like, that was, I thought they were going to try to throw in some like random English narration, but it was all Mandarin for like first 8-9 minutes, and I thought it was great. It really felt like you were transported into that story. For a second, it felt like I was watching a foreign film, because like a lot of us have watched Chinese films, like wuxia films and stuff like that. So if it got a sense of that feeling, like it was an authentic, wuxia film, martial arts film from China, then I thought that was great. It was visually stunning there,
for sure.
and that narrative kept, and that emotional connection with Tony Leung's character and the father just carried the film. It really
Oh, for
did.
sure. For
Yeah.
sure. And I think one thing that they did do well, just because it's that classic story of Shang Chi um, trying to fit in a what is primarily a, although the movie did not show too many white people, but it is essentially a North American San Francisco city in
Mm.
which he is just inundated with white culture and trying to fit in. Um, Trying to play the classic trope of the underachiever when he really is a killing machine that is excelling in his craft.
Yeah.
You know, the classic, just try to stay below the radar, not seen. I'm going to be a valet person for these high, rich, famous people. I think it's really showed up when he kept on saying his name was Sean instead of Shang,
Yeah.
because that's really pointed for me. Because even my last name, even up until now, I still say my last name is Ing when
Mm.
it's not that at all. But it's
Mm.
just a way for me to survive, a way for me to relate to people who either I don't think wants to put in that effort to really learn my last name.
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Shang-Chi really understood his role and did want to take in his past, which was be a part of a crime syndicate,
Yeah.
which, you know, he is a killing machine in the end. That's when he realized his true potential. And I thought they did do a good job of playing that transformation with Simu, just because you did see him as the classic frat boy, you know, the classic fuck boy in every San Francisco kid. But then you do see him after like have some emotional depth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. No, definitely. Wait, then what is? Oh, I'm not Cantonese, so I don't know the actual pronunciation of NG. But what is it?
So it's more like a sound at the back of your throat. It's mm,
Right. Mm.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, more like that instead
Mm.
of ing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. I mean that's totally fair. To for that, like, you know, we always North Americanize our names, you know, to try and I guess fit in, but also like not have to try to pronounce it. There was something I really liked about the fact that they were like making a big effort to correct the pronunciation in Shang-Chi. Like the full Mandarin pronunciation is Shang-Chi, which if you were to go like full, you know, what's it?
The
Tonation,
Yeah.
intonation. Granted, it does sound a little weird, so they kind of they softened the pronunciation to Shang-Chi, which is I guess just a little bit more easier to follow. But at least it wasn't Shang-Chi. At least they got that.
Yeah,
At
yeah.
least they corrected everybody's pronunciation. Oh, let's go watch Shang-Chi. It's like, nah, it's Shang-Chi. So you go from the ang to the ung. And that actually helps me a lot because I've always been Josh Yang. You know,
Oh,
Yang
bro.
has always been the Wang. You know, Chang has always been the pronunciation. That's never the pronunciation in Mandarin. It's Yang, so it's more
It's more of a U sound.
yeah, it's I actually
My bad, Josh. My bad.
no, it's totally fine because I've been working on a bit about it as well. It's like Yang is the weirdest like last name if you're an Asian person in North America because not only is there like Yang, like it's pronounced Yang, right? But it's spelled Yang, and most people will read it as Yang. But then if it's not it's spelled like that because that's the pinging romanization, but it's not pronounced like that, so people will read it like Yang, but they associate a Chinese person with Yang. They associate Asian with Yang. If you were to pronounce Yang as Yang, then there's actually an English last name called Young, Young, right? So then if I were to go Young or like change my last name Yang to Young, Young, then people would mistake me as not being Asian.
Yeah.
So it'd be less accurate in a sense. But it sounds closer, but it's less accurate.
Yeah.
And then there's other spellings as well, depending on where you're from. I'm from mainland China. You're from South China, more Cantonese, right? Like Hong Kong spelling is different as well.
Yep.
Hong Kong spelling is Yeung, which actually sounds better because young sounds better. Even Yung sounds better, but it doesn't even stop there. It's like what in Germany, if I wanted to, my last name could be Jung, and that's Jung.
Oh yeah.
And that sounds more accurate, but
Uh-huh.
more white at the same time.
Right,
So
right.
I can't be Josh Jung Jung. What is it? If I was German, then that the most accurate pronunciation of my last name in German culture. But then at the same time, Jung. If you're Korean, then that's actually Jung. So what am I? So there's Yang, Yang, Young, Young, Jung, Young. So there's so many different variations of that.
Mhm.
In the end, the most accurate one in Western society might actually be Yang because it can't be mistaken for anything else.
Full circle moment, man.
Yeah, yeah. So, but in the end, it's like if we're able to in North America change that pronunciation now to
Mhm.
Ang, Yang, that helps me a lot because that helps with the understanding that Josh Young, Shang, right?
Mhm.
So it's not the ang, it's not the weird ang sound. It's like
Yeah.
Shang, Shang, Yang, Young. I think that'd be great, and I'm happy
Uh-huh.
that they managed to add that distinction because
For
for the
sure.
longest period of time, like you couldn't really communicate how the ung sounds with the ang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for a while, I think early on in their marketing, they did say Shang a lot, like Shanghai.
Mm,
Um, it wasn't until I swear, when I saw Simu on his Instagram post up about his red carpet premiere in LA that I
yeah.
saw like their MC say Shang Chi, and I'm like, oh shit, I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Oh, have you
Yeah,
been saying it? Yeah, but see,
yeah,
that's the thing because like you don't know what is more accurate
yeah.
to try and tell other people. Like if it because I think they did a good job of uniformly,
Mhm.
changing it so that it's that all the marketing is now Shang-Chi. Whenever Simu Liu goes on to talk shows, the talk show hosts pronounce it Shang-Chi,
Mhm.
right? So that just inherently changes like, oh, it's Shang, it's not Shang.
Yeah, yeah.
And then it just disseminates and that changes that's a win for the culture.
You know what? I just had this realization. Is that what this movie is essentially about? Just these little micro changes. It kind of opens up the ideas and eyes of people who are just generally just unaware, even myself, of the intonations of an SHANG for essentially a North American audience. Like we can go into like what they went wrong with their storytelling. The third act I thought was really rushed. Like I don't need to see all that CGI.
Yeah, you could kind of tell it was like a pandemic COVID like thing where they really had to try and figure something out. And like
Yeah.
to their credit, they managed to at least keep it kind of they finished off that story, but yeah, it did feel a
Yeah.
bit rushed. I agree.
But essentially, this is an origin story, and I hate to always just say just like compliment capitalism as a way of showing that anything's a success, you know. But
Mm.
we live in a capitalist society, and art within a capitalist society is only valuable if it makes a return, which
Yep.
is which is not a good ideal to live by art with. But it did make 200 million domestically, and
Mm.
as a result, people are now saying Shang properly.
Yeah.
And again, it is an origin story, which means, of course, they're going to go on further with the story. So I think it's a win, you know,
Oh,
after just
absolutely.
talking.
I
Yeah.
agree. I agree. Absolutely. I think it's a win. And the Shou Shang thing, that was something I don't think like I was hoping for a change when they put in like, whoa, Shang-Chi is gonna be our next thing. It's like that wasn't what I was hoping for. I was just hoping for a decent film.
Yeah.
But yeah, like it's an origin film, and it feels more like it was an origin film for the rings as opposed to
Good
for
point.
for
Yes.
actual Shang-Chi and like Simu Liu. And like I think I disseminated with my sister a lot afterwards. And I think what we realized was like we could connect as a viewer to Tony Leung's character more because we saw the Tony Leung character arc
Yep.
being portrayed by him, right? The Simu Liu Shang-Chi character arc was separated into three different sections. You have the little kid version of Shang-Chi with his mom. That's a whole emotional arc by itself. Then you have the teenager version going through training and like having to deal with the consequences and getting trained to go out and do that kill. Like that's a version of the emotional arc of the whole character.
Yeah.
And then you don't really see Simu Liu as Shang-Chi until like, well, I guess in the beginning, but it gets spread out, sprinkled out so
Yeah.
much. It just felt like we never fully as an audience connected with him as that character. It was like a lot of seeing him as that character, but understanding the emotions through the eyes of the younger actors
Mhm.
as opposed to him. So that
Wh-
was one
yeah.
of the things I felt like, I mean, it felt like it was a necessary thing because they wanted to teach the father-son relationship,
Mhm.
but it just did feel like it was Simu Liu was like underutilized in the character development, which leads me to hope that of course that once you get into the next film, it'll be much better because it'll be all focused on Shang-Chi and like from beginning to end, it will be his story, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, I I didn't really want to say this, but what I found interesting was that for a lot of Shang-Chi's big emotional scenes,
Mm,
such as when he said the line, which is incredibly poignant because it informed the final act, which was a debt by blood needs to be paid back in blood, which
mm,
essentially means that he was going to kill his father,
yeah,
or
yeah,
he intended to. That was supposed to be his big emotional scene, which was we were supposed to be gravitating towards Simu, towards Shang-Chi.
yeah.
What I found interesting was after he said that immediate line, the reaction shot was to Aquafina,
Mm,
which means that the coverage that they got of of Simu were maybe not strong enough. Maybe he couldn't emote enough at that moment.
interesting.
So I'm deeply hoping in the sequel or whenever Shang-Chi arrives back in any of the MCU films
Mm,
that his emotional depth will be will be more full, will be more deep.
yeah.
Because there were some missing points that it's like as an audience, I do want to see those reaction shots from him, but I was left hanging. And so I hope he works on that.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree. Like his strengths were definitely the physicality of it. Like
Absolutely.
he did the stunts, he did the martial arts on point. Like the bus scene definitely is ranked probably now, you know, top 3 fight scenes in all of like Marvel and all the choreography. That was really great. If anything, that's what I expected of the superhero. Like the superhero Shang-Chi is supposed to be uh his powers and what he's known for is to be expert level martial artist. Like he's so good, like you can't like catch him off guard. And that first scene was it showed you the his skill level. Like he was jumping in and out smooth from one fight to another. His strikes were powerful, you know, and on point. And that's what I felt like it made sense. It established the bona fides of
Yeah.
the character. But then later on through the rest of the film, he was just getting beat up by everybody. He was
Yeah.
like getting beat up by his sister. He was getting beat up by the death dealer. He was getting beat up by his dad. Like he literally didn't not get beat up. He got beat up by Michelle Yeoh's character during
Yeah.
training.
His aunt.
So
Yeah.
it's like that's doesn't look like he's like a badass martial arts expert, which he was technically trained to be. So that I kind of lost that. And then with all the CGI at the end as well, like you couldn't feel the physicality of the power of the character because the power of the character is close quarter combat, like acrobatics and really getting in on it. And like sure, the skyscraper scene was like a great scene like visually, but like also a lot of CGI you couldn't feel it was more noticeable, sorry, like because the bus scene also had a lot of CGI, but it was less noticeable. It felt more grounded. The scene on the side of the skyscraper with everybody's like you can tell that's a person who's falling like onto a mat because there's a CGI death or whatever. So it didn't feel I felt like those action scenes, if they could have recreated the bus scene multiple times, more close quarter like action scenes like that made me believe in the character's abilities. but towards the end, it's like once you build all that emotional thing with the father and son, the thing about that scene that kind of threw me off was like, did he need to kill his dad? Like,
I know,
is that
right?
is that the jump you make from
Yeah.
like your dad is being influenced by a dark, entity, and he's being
Yeah.
misled, and he's doing this even though for grief purposes, like Tony Leung's character's motivations were the clearest of all the other characters in the film. Like you
Yeah.
understood why he was doing what he was doing,
Mhm.
but you also understood that he was clearly not malicious in his actions. Like he was being misled. So in the point from like my dad's being misled by this dark entity to I've got no other choice than to kill him, like you could almost solve like the issues with like you could kind of save your dad by like somehow talking through it or like revealing or like showing
Yeah.
somehow another way just to convince him to not do it. Like that's all it takes is to get the disillusionment. You don't have to
Yeah.
fucking kill him.
No, it's so funny because I saw a tweet that would really relate to what you're saying. It's the tweet was, "This movie is so authentically Asian to the point where they were willing to fight to the death instead of going to family counseling."
Yeah, that's perfect. That is so
Yeah.
true.
Like,
So in essence, that was very accurate. That was super right on the dot.
yeah, exactly. So Asian. We're willing to fight to the death and kill my own dad instead of talking things out.
Admitting we were wrong.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Uh man. Josh, like overall, are you excited to see Shang Chi in the MCU?
Oh, absolutely. I think just the mere fact that he's there, like blah blah blah, seat at the table. But like, you want him to be there. You want him to be like an actual pivotal, character and like be like a contributing factor. But at the same time, it's like, does he really need to be like a super cosmic being? Not really.
Yeah.
Like you have other superheroes in the MCU that, maybe power wise, not as powerful like Hawkeye or Black Widow, but like Shang-Chi, I think there is an element, a stylistic element of his abilities that you can showcase, that you can separate from. And then the 10 rings. I mean, I like what they did, because in the comic books it was actually rings on the hand as opposed to like, martial arts rings.
Yep.
So I like that change because that's a much more clear visual distinction. I think a lot of discussion was Marvel didn't want that to be confusing with the Infinity Gauntlet. So that's a smart choice to change that up. So like with the rings, he's more powerful. He's able to like do more things, and like they're obviously going to have some kind of cosmic, mystery around what the rings are actually for. So it does feel like it's more integral. He's going to be more integral. The character that I think has nothing to do with anything is Katie. I think she's absolutely unnecessary for anything. Like she could have easily, Katie, there she is. Aquafina, great. I also feel like was underutilized because they were trying to really, it honestly felt like they really wanted Aquafina in the film. So they wrote her into the character of Katie.
Was she in the original comics?
I don't think so.
Like, okay.
I don't think there was ever any talk that like Katie was a pivotal, character or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, even in this, it's like I think she was oddly utilized in a sense. It's like Shang-Chi has to go find his sister to save her from like this international criminal syndicate, super dangerous. He only trusts her. And yet he brings along his friend from childhood on this international dangerous mission, and she only gets in the way. Like he could have been much more stealth, much more like in and out, and instead he has to fight to try and protect her. He almost lost her.
But she is a chauffeur or a valet driver, and that's why she drove that BMW M3. Warhammer's BMW M3 through the forest to go in the Tallow. That's her greatest contribution to the story.
That was her greatest contribution. And like,
the arrow.
The arrow. She
killed the beast.
Yeah, she killed the beast, but that also felt unearned. Like, where did she suddenly become an expert in arrows and stuff?
the bearded guy taught her.
No, the bearded guy said she was shit.
Wow, how do Asian parents always tell you you're good?
They don't.
Or tell you that you're shit?
I'm kidding. Yeah. But like, I think they just really wanted Aquafina in there for her like star power, because like
Yeah.
she's so charismatic, so charming a character as an actress, but like underutilized. I thought like the motivation for trying to figure out keep her in like didn't make much sense to me.
Yeah.
Like I thought a better utilization would be like, establish their friendship, have that bus scene, but then at the end of the bus scene, fucking kidnap Katie, take her to Asia or whatever. Let Shang-Chi know that she's been kidnapped, and that's motivation for him to go and save her. Like,
so you didn't need her at that Macau fighting ring thing? You didn't want her.
He didn't need her at all. Like she had no reason for there other than it's like, if you think you're gonna go on this dangerous mission without me, forget it. Like he could totally just give her the slip. It would be so much more efficient for him. But it's like, why did she need to be there? Like in my mind, it makes more sense for her to be kidnapped as motivation for Shang-Chi to find his sister, instead of being easily tricked by a postcard. Like what? And then like the fight scene between him and his sister, what a great moment for them to be ambushed by the Ten Rings organization and have him and his sister go on this crazy martial arts fighting action sequence where they both show off their martial arts skills, and then they connect through it by supporting each other and saving each other. And then they go on this mission to go and save Katie. And then I just think it would be hilarious to have Awkwafina and Tony Leung have like back and forth, conversations as captor and captee. Like it would be hilarious. And she'd be like, what are you talking about? There'd be just some funny back and forth, because it would be like out of like fish out of water type of scenes.
Yeah.
And like that motivates Shang-Chi and his sister to infiltrate the secret lair instead of just being helicoptered in like kids or whatever. Like, come on, you had a whole secret lair. You couldn't try to infiltrate it and like fight off a bunch of bad guys and stuff like that. And it's like, it was just going from one thing to the other. Like it was just like, okay, I guess we're doing this. It's like, there's no real reason.
The Josh Young cut of Shang-Chi. I'm going to end off at least my take with this quote, if I may. In researching for this episode of the podcast, I was trying to justify like why I felt the way I felt about the movie itself, because essentially it's a movie. Like it's from one of the biggest conglomerates in the world. It's not going to be a game changer because it has to be palatable for so many taste buds. So this is what I got from a Vox article. I can link to the writer when we put this up, but the quote was this: I, the writer, like Simu Liu, would love if we could change the world and smash ceilings and persevere against the nasty stuff. Racism, prejudice, hopelessness. That keeps us pinned down. If only it were as simple as buying a movie ticket. So just my main thing was I had all these expectations that it was going to be a perfect film that could literally smash racism, smash stop Asian hate. Oh, no, not smash stop Asian hate, smash Asian hate. But it's a movie. It's made in a Catholic society that still to this day hinders a lot of minorities such as you and I. So, if we really did want to like make social change, don't rely on a movie to do that. Mobilize, call your local governmental bodies, reach out to any vulnerable societies, reach out to them in person. Because essentially, I hope that the movie continues to spread, good awareness that like Asians can lead a franchise, but at the end of the day, you and I, Josh, we are the real superheroes.
Whoa, what a message to come back to. I didn't realize we were the superheroes, but I like it. I agree that like, it is just a film. It's not going to solve everything. It is ends up being like, if it can inspire some people to like want to be more involved with like putting out Asian representation or working towards putting out more Asian content, just to change the narrative, just to establish as, we're multifaceted. We're not uh, a conglomeration of, stereotypes
Hmm.
and ideas, but like we do have varying wants and needs and desires, and like some of it is to like want to feel more recognized in society. Others part of it is to feel like you want to stand out more in society.
Yeah.
And both, I think it can exist. I think just the mere presence of this film and the potential opportunities the films can offer
Hmm.
is only going to help people like us get more opportunities.
Hmm.
Asian actors, more roles out there, more opportunities for them. And I think it's just in the sense as well. It's like, a lot of things like who, if you have producers out there who think it's like, who's gonna watch a film by, with an Asian lead, is like those questions are always the things that stop those type of, art be created, because you just don't, they don't, producers or gatekeepers don't think anybody is gonna want it.
Hmm.
But this shows that people do want it, and it's not just Asian people. I think it's just any people just want new stories, because there's only so many stories that you can tell with the same characters and the same, leads, same looking leads, because it is
Yeah.
true. Because if you associate stories with like a white male lead, it's like, how many times can you replay the same narratives or
Hmm.
like try to twist the narratives? But
Hmm.
really what you're twisting is the same old narratives. It's like,
Yeah.
instead of creating new narratives, like there's so much content out there,
Hmm.
like people just want to see something different, something
Yeah.
fresh. I mean, even now, Squid Game, it's like the biggest, you know series on Netflix. It's only been out 2 weeks. It's already gonna break their previous records
Yeah.
for shows. It's a Korean series
Hmm.
about like a bunch of poor people trying to fight or like play in this competition held by some megalomaniac,
Yeah.
like rich person,
Hmm.
um to win money. And it's like, it's all in Korean. There's subtitles there, but it's the
Hmm.
biggest show because it's good, because it's
Yeah.
different, because it's fresh, it's new, it's not the same narrative.
Hmm.
And like the more people see that, the more opportunities there are, the
Yeah.
more ways that like you won't have to feel limited
Yeah.
in what you want to do because of who you are, what you look like.
Just briefly on that point before we cap this off, what is with? I only have a small sample size, and it's Parasite and now Squid Game,
Mm.
but like I get the sense that like at least those two shows made from Korean producers, directors, and creatives, like does Korea really have like an anti-capitalistic mode to them? Because
Yeah.
it kind of seems kind of cool. It's like saying a big fuck you to the system because essentially Squid Game is like, are you willing to literally kill and die for money?
Yeah.
Like that's the extreme form of capitalism. So I find that to be a really cool. And Parasite is a lot more in depth and everything like that. But
Yeah. I mean,
capitalism, yeah.
I feel like it's the reason that they're so captivating is that like the underlying stories are universal in terms of class and theme and family,
Hmm.
and like your own desires, and the things that motivate you. So I think those are universal, but because the sensibility is different, it's just a
Hmm.
different perspective. Like you're not going to be influenced like by other class products in Hollywood. Like if you grow up watching, you
Hmm.
know, um, poor people trying to overcome, things in America,
Yeah.
unless you have like your own other personal experience to draw upon, like how many more original takes of that are there without feeling like it's very similar, as opposed to like seeing the same story or experience but from completely different culture, completely different perspective, but then picking out and understanding, like you still connect with the motivations because we're all human at the end of the day.
Hmm.
Like I think there really is just a stronger desire now to see different things.
Yeah.
Just like, even though Hollywood like keeps regurgitating, sequels and remakes and redos and stuff, is like
Mhm.
some of the biggest things are the ones that are completely fresh and completely new. And
Yeah.
it's just like, maybe now you just need to take more opportunities. I mean, streaming services, with the streaming wars, they're just buying everything.
Yeah.
So it seems like they're willing to take more chances on more content. And with
Yeah.
Squid Game, or like Money Heist in Spain, right? Money
Mhm.
Heist, hugely popular international series for Netflix, but
Mhm.
it's not catered. It wasn't produced in America,
Yeah.
right? And yet it's gone on 5-6 series. It's hugely popular. It's one of their best
Mhm.
IPs,
Yeah.
right? It's just like,
Mhm.
once you put the, you know, what is it? Once you're willing to take that risk and get that
Mhm.
reward, I think there's so many opportunities.
For sure. On that note, Josh, keep on creating art, man. Keep on doing it. Whether it
Uh,
makes money or no money, keep on making art.
yeah, that's what we should be promoting. If it makes money or if it doesn't make money, just keep putting it out there. And who knows, it
Yeah.
might make money later on.
Yeah. If it does, it does. If it doesn't, you
It's
still made it, and that's what fucking counts.
Yeah, you need to get that inherent, value out of it.
Yeah. I hate to toot my own horn about this, but again, just back to the original point that I had. My agent just said, "You're holding the bat too tight in your self tapes."
Mm.
And that's because I saw what was at stake, which is essentially in Squid Game, the piggy bank that was suspended in the ceiling.
Yeah, yeah.
I saw it, and that's ruined my whole focus. Don't look at that piggy bank. Just
Yeah.
make art, be a superhero for your own self. And if you do want real change, mobilize, organize, and talk to your governmental bodies.
Yes, I agree.
Okay. You want to do one word association, Josh? I'm going to say one word to you.
Okay, and then I'll say one word back.
Okay.
Okay.
You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Death dealer.
Lame.
Word association.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just lame. Underwhelming. It was like, it was a super cool looking character. Should have been like a pre-boss battle fight between Death Dealer and Shang Chi. Didn't happen, and disappointing.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, my one word for you.
Mm-hmm. Fart. Oh.
No. Sorry, I was trying to come up with as random a word as I can. Monopoly.
Mustache.
Oh, okay. Monopoly mustache. Monopoly man has a mustache.
But did that come out of our brief talk about capitalism?
Maybe, I don't know. I was just trying to. It could have been. It could have been. Everything is connected. Everything's connected.
It is. Josh, we said we were going to go for 30 to 45 minutes. It's been 59 minutes now.
Yes. Well, I missed you, man. I mean, this podcast is not. It's not easy when we're constantly, on other sides of the country, and then pandemics hit and stuff. So, who knows when we'll actually do an actual podcast in person again?
I know. Miss you, brother. I'll see you soon, okay?
Miss you too, man. And now that we're coming to the end of the podcast, please like and subscribe our podcast on the YouTube channel. Have We Made It Yet podcast? You can follow this podcast as well at HWMIY podcast across all social media. Lucas, what are your handles?
Everyone can find me at Lucas John NG across social media. And that's where you can find me. Josh, where can people find you?
At Josh Yan Comedy across all social media. And of course, go listen to the Sleep with Josh podcast. There's over 60 episodes on there right now. Definitely not all necessarily could be kind of recent, but there's plenty of stuff for you to listen to. So go ahead and listen to that. If you want to listen to me talk about things that are boring in my voice, so it helps you go to sleep. So Sleep with Josh podcast. Thank you for listening to just the two of us episode version. And yeah, go watch Shang Chi because it's a good film, even though you've heard of our criticisms. But support the culture, support the movement. All right.
Peace out.
Bye.